welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here, and welcome to a brand new episode of LJV's Monday Night Classic Reviews, where every Monday night I go back in time and review a women's wrestling figure of the past. Now, this one has been on my docket for quite some time. I kind of got sidetracked with the Iconics figures and so on. But this Mandy Rose is very special to me. I've never reviewed it individually on the channel. Now, the reason this figure is so special to me is it came out in 2018, so it was 2 years before I started LumberJillville. Well, in 2018, I just moved out to Tennessee. I just got an apartment out here. And, I got my daughter every other weekend and every Wednesday. And that's when we started to collect women's wrestling figures. She started picking out ones she liked, and I'd buy some at the store that I thought she would like, and she really started to love them and play with them. Well, I went to the Walgreens down the road, and I saw this Mandy, and I knew my daughter would love it because my daughter has an infatuation with the blonde-haired women's wrestler. Charlotte's her number one. But either way, I found this, and I got so excited. Put it under her pillow for about a week until I got her next. She came over, she went to bed. Next morning, she woke up and felt something under the pillow, and she pulled out the figure. And that was just a special moment for me. It really was. Because at the time, she was really interested in these women's wrestling figures. And she still thinks they're pretty cool. But those were the golden days of her childhood where we really bonded over these women's wrestling figures. And this Mandy is definitely a special one. Now, I did buy one that was carded here that we can open up and review after we look at the package. But the one that I'm talking about that was my daughter's is still in her collection. So without further ado, let's take a look at Basic Series 92 Mandy Rose.
Welcome to my Figure Facts, where I share interesting details on the figure at hand and the superstar themselves. Here are some neat tidbits on Mattel Basic Series 92 Mandy Rose, released in 2018. This was Mandy's first figure. Depicts the attire she wore on her main roster debut. Mandy had 2 Elites and 3 Basics released by Mattel in her time with WWE. Now back to Mayor Aaron for the unboxing and review.
Alright, so apparently my mic was not connected when I reviewed the packaging, so we're going to do it again. We're going to review the packaging with the mic active, just not with the figure in there. So yeah, this was the packaging style of the Basic Series all the way back in 2018, and this sounds crazy, but I'm going to be honest, I have loved the Basic, even the main event figure packaging for probably since the beginning of the channel, even before, obviously, with this figure. I just really love how simple it is. I love how there's always been a big open window. Usually there's a large image of the superstar, like as we can see here in this Basic Series 92, we have a large image of the beautiful and stunning Mandy Rose. We also have in the bottom corner, first time in the line, and turning it around here, we have the rest of the series. Now, this is a blast from the past. I mean, look at this. We got John Cena, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, and Seth Rollins alongside Mandy in this series. So, yeah, 2018 was a wild time in WWE, especially because a couple of these folks actually are still pretty dang prevalent in WWE, John Cena and Seth Rollins. So, definitely cool. But yeah, I've always liked the basic packaging, the main event packaging. I just think it's cool. It's nice, thick cardboard, but I love the design. I really, really love it. So, as you can see, I did already peel it back and take the figure out. So, let's take a closer look at the figure. WWE Mattel Basic Series 92 Mandy Rose, released in 2018. This attire is from Mandy's main roster debut on the November 20th, 2017 edition of Raw, where she, alongside Sonya Deville and Paige, attacks Sasha Banks, Alicia Fox, Mickie James, and Bayley, making a statement for the women's division. Absolution was born. Alright, so overall, my first impressions of this figure, I'm just going to get this out of the way. It's something that's bothered me for a while about this figure, and that's that the head is huge. The head is not proportionate with the rest of the body. And as you can see here, the circumference of her head is about the circumference of her waist, which is definitely not accurate. It definitely does make it look a little weird. But at the time I got this figure, me and my daughter loved it. We thought it was great. I really thought the likeness was cool. I really liked the attire. And here's the thing with the basic or the main event line, okay? A lot of times, especially during 2018, the body sculpts were just generic, just copied and pasted, reused. Now, the attire that they painted on her, this metallic gold, really hides that generic sculpt that they put on a lot of women's basics at the time. So I think the body part choices are good. I think the attire looks really, really cool. I love the metallic gold, and I think the likeness is good. But yeah, my biggest complaint is definitely how large that head is. It's almost like a Funko Pop. Now, that being said, let's take a closer look at that head, and let's look at the face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt. Alright, so as far as the face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt goes, like I said, the head is huge. It is rather large proportionally. I don't understand why it got released so large. I wonder if it had something to do with the hair sculpt. Like, they might have tried everything smaller, but the hair sculpt pushed too much on the shoulders. It didn't fit on the peg, so maybe they just made everything bigger so her head fit on the neck peg, but that's a reach. Either way, the likeness is really good here. The face scan, the face sculpt is really, really good. I also really love the hair sculpt. I think it's a beautiful hair sculpt. It really did simulate her hair at the time. Now, obviously, it is just one shade of blonde, but it worked okay for the time here. But we have nice little curls sculpted throughout, going all around. We have some wave patterns. It's a really beautiful hair sculpt, honestly. And yeah, so the face scan and sculpt, I think it looks wonderful. But yeah, definitely what throws it off is a large proportion of the head. Alright, so as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, now as I mentioned, this body sculpt was a very much used body sculpt on women's basic figures at the time. As you can see, if you look close, we have that generic kind of sports bra type mold underneath, and that's really all the molding going on this figure. However, I think they did an excellent job with the paint application to really hide that generic sculpt, because looking at this figure from a distance, you can't tell. And I think they did an excellent job and a great choice choosing the metallic gold finish. They could have just done a dull gold like they did on that WrestleMania 34 Charlotte basic. I love that figure, but I wish it was a metallic gold attire. So at least they went with the metallic paint application here, which is cool. So as I mentioned, the only sculpting is really on this generic upper body chest sculpt there. And yeah, the sculpting of the laces of her boots. That's pretty much it. Now, as far as the actual attire goes, if you look, she has a gold choker necklace going around there. Also, her top is painted in that metallic gold with these black accents. It looks really, really cool. We have black trim. We even have black on the straps there. We have a black armband. Moving it around, it's just gold. Now, the bottoms, this is kind of cool. They did go the extra mile on her bottoms to really try to make it more personalized to Mandy. So they do dip down a little bit, much like her tights in real life. Now, that's supposed to be skin tone, and it looks a little off. I am colorblind, but it doesn't really match her skin tone there. But I see what they're trying to do, giving her the low-cut bottoms there. But yes, they are gold with a black trim, black design. Now, turning her around, this is something when I got this figure, I was like, geez, I didn't know Mattel did that with their women's figures. They painted some flesh color up on the backside sculpt to basically give this figure cheeks. Now, I can't recall many basics or any basics at the time that they did this, so this was definitely a new thing, and I always like when they personalize the women's wrestling figures to represent that superstar more, and I really like this extra mile that they went to paint a little flesh color on the backside there to kind of give it the simulation of cheek coming out, right? There's no other way to say that, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting and something we didn't see a lot at the time for the women's basics. Moving on down, we have these black sleeves painted on. Now, these boots are actually beautiful. I say that, but I really like the metallic gold that I think they're casted in. I love the white laces being painted on, and I love how it says Rose on the side, and on the other side, Rose again. So yeah, as far as the body sculpt goes and the attire, I think they did a good job with the part choices here. I really do. Now, they could have made her a little more muscular, but at the time, a lot of the women's basics were pretty standard, pretty cut and paste. So for what it was, I thought the body sculpt turned out good, and I thought the attire turned out even better. I love this attire. All right, so now it's comparison time. Now, on the left, we have Mandy's very first Elite released in 2020, and Elite Series 75. And on the right, we obviously have her first in the line figure, Basic Series 92, released 2 years prior to this Elite. And she does have a few other figures. I did do a figure history or figure evolution of Mandy Rose when she was released. I think it covered all of her figures, so definitely check that out if you want to see them all next to each other. But I wanted to bring out the other blonde-haired Mandy that came out, only 2 years after this basic figure. And it is truly one of the best elites. Now, honestly, this Mandy Rose Elite, I want to say, is within my first 15 figure reviews. I think I painted my face like gold dust, and I had a good time doing it. So that might be a figure that I revisit, because that was a very early review. I didn't really have the technology or the equipment that I do now. So look for this to be a future classic review. But for now, it is up on the channel way back in the archives. But as you can see, there's really no comparison here. I mean, I really like the attire, and I like what this basic figure is. However, look at that head. Look at the head when you compare it to the Elite. Do you see what I'm saying about how big and out of scale it is? But like I said, for the time period, for 2018, I thought this was a fine basic, but this Elite blows it out of the water in every other way. I mean, we got unique sculpting to really simulate her physique better, more muscular legs, a lot more detail in her attire, obviously unique sculpting, although I do wish, do you see how that chest is painted black paint going across? That should definitely be flesh color, but I wonder if they painted it black to kind of make it more PG or family friendly. I don't know. But either way, this Elite is truly amazing. It's one of my favorite Elites. Gosh, it might be a top 15 women's Elite, honestly, in my opinion. I'll have to do that countdown again. But yeah, this Elite is beautiful. I absolutely love it. And I wish that she was the chase in this line and we got like a metallic gold attire for the chase. But either way, yeah, I just wanted to compare these two Mandys next to each other so you can see them. So honestly, if you're looking for one Mandy in the collection, even one to represent her early main roster days, I would 1000% go for this Elite 75. Alright, so now this part of the video, I go over the last sold eBay pricings of this figure, and I discuss my overall feelings, whether I think it's worth that price, and if I think you should go scoop it up for what it's going for. Now, that being said, this Basic Series 92 Mandy Rose, the last sold loose listing was $9.57. The last sold mint on card listing was at $19 shipped. So it's a pretty affordable figure to pick up. I actually spent more than those prices when I got this. I got this at a McKay's bookstore. Really, really great place. But I saw it mint on card and I couldn't say no, because the last time I saw it mint on card was that day that I saw it at Walgreens and got it for my daughter. But yeah, so this figure is pretty inexpensive if you're a huge Mandy Rose fan. If you really like what she did early in her main roster run, then I would go pick this figure up. However, if you do just want one representation of Mandy Rose in your collection, there are much better figures out there of her. More so Elite Series 75 and Elite Series 98 if you're looking for a Toxic Attraction Mandy. So there are better Mandys out there. So it's one of those things that it all depends on what you collect and who you collect. But as I mentioned, there are much better Mandys out there. But her first in line figure, I think, did a pretty decent job of introducing Mandy to the line. Now, that being said, thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now, stay tuned every Monday. For the rest of the summer, there's going to be a LJV Monday Night Classic review where I go back in time and review a women's wrestling figure of the past. I've really enjoyed this series. I have a lot of fun doing it. And if there's any requests, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to get to it. Now, with that being said, thank you for watching and have a great night, y'all.